Thank you. All right. So everyone, welcome to the first BA Book Nook with Robert Snyder. And we're glad that all of you could join us. It's a new series by the IIBA Bluegrass chapter, and we're excited to have you here. So if you want to pull up a seat on a comfy couch and pull up a book, today's book can be found in a number of places. And Erin, if you want to drop into the chat where they can find it in case they want to download it beforehand. This type of BA Book Nook, we're not having required reading in advance of it, but always welcome for you to do so, because we want to hear from the author what inspired them to write the book and tell us what we can get out of it and all those types of things. So pre-reading is not required, but it's always wonderful afterwards if you do actually read the book. So with that, I would like to introduce Robert Snyder, who is the author of Innovation Elegance, Transcending Agile with Ruthlessness and Grace. So hello, Robert. Thank you so much for being our first guest. And if you could, tell us a little bit about yourself, or a lot. Up to you.
So thank you, Stephanie, for welcoming me, Erin, and all of the Bluegrass chapter. Greetings from Chicago. I've never been able to just read my short formal bio. So I'd like to take the opportunity to be a big cheese ball and just read my own bio. It's not so long. Robert Snyder is the founder and president of Innovation Elegance, LLC. His 30-year career spans roles such as developer, project management, change management, sales enablement, and the performing arts. His career path includes corporate roles, consulting roles, startups, PMP, and Agile certifications. He has performed in numerous vocal, dance, and theater ensembles. Robert earned his BS in electrical engineering from the University of Illinois, who's still in the tournament, and his MBA in strategy from the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University, who dropped out of the tournament just last night in embarrassing fashion. Robert published his first book on New Year's Day titled Innovation Elegance, Transcending Agile with Ruthlessness and Grace. His second book, Innovation Portfolio, 5 Verbs Shape Your Team's Legacy, is due in April.
Wow, Robert sounds very impressive.
I'm so modest.
Thank you for reading your bio. I appreciate it. You've done a much better job than I could have.
Very well written.
So I, as Steph Hawkins, would like to kick off some questions and also welcome anyone to put in chat or if they need to come off mute to ask the questions. Remember, this is a friendly book nook, and we're all supposed to be curled up with Robert's book and just eager and ready to, engage and learn more about, the story behind the book. So, Robert, as I was reading through the book, some of the questions I had was like, really, what led you to write this book? Like, how did this come about? Could you talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, happy to. The probably the strongest thrust for writing the book came around 2018 when I started concluding that the dysfunction is so systemic and systematic in innovation work that I felt I wanted to put my conclusions on paper about what good looked like. And so I'm big into metaphors, and the book contains 4 metaphors about the performing arts. And what was going through my mind then was everything I learned on the dance floor applies to my teams. What if our project plans imitated a symphony? When we think of theater, it's not simply short, narrow user stories. It's the long arc of the customer story, the customer journey. What is innovation except rewriting the customer story for a better customer stakeholder experience? So that's just the taste of where around 2018, I just hit a tipping point and I said, enough short white paper stuff. I felt to move the needle for innovation professionals, I had to come out formally, forcefully, and the book was the best way to do that.
Okay, great. And I would agree because, a lot of times as a project manager or BA, or just in the industry, we use a lot of dry words, right? We use the same words over and over again. And it becomes habitual, and you're so accustomed to what those words mean, right? And how you use them, that in your book, with taking all of these concepts and saying, I'm going to tell the story of what we need to do and how to innovate differently, it kind of breaks you out of that habit and really freshens your thoughts on like what that means and how you could explore it. So love that concept. Now, uh, so these ideas that came from in the original story. Now, who is your target audience for this book? I mean, who are you trying to entice to come in and open this book and really try to freshen their thoughts and really learn some new innovation?
The short answer is exasperated innovation professionals.
Okay.
I believe that among the professions of business analysis professionals, change managers, there's a whole spectrum of, are folks happy in their jobs, in their roles, in their careers? And the other extreme exists of exasperation. And so the best audience for this book are professionals who are sufficiently experienced in the two software-centric methodologies. We know their names. And they realize that these software-centric methodologies have had a couple decades to improve the employee experience, raise project success rates. But the awkward reality is that software is not what makes innovation difficult. It's people, it's us. It's how we interact, govern each other, collaborate, or stink at collaborating. And so the best audience for this book is those who agree with me that people are what makes teamwork difficult. We are, how we interact is what makes innovation teamwork difficult. And the status quo of these two and a half software-centric methodologies, we can't do the same thing expecting our cultures to improve.
Right. So it sounds like there's a pattern involved in this, right? Like you engage, you learn things, and you do things because you know how to do them. Is the pattern the problem then? Is that part of it?
So I think there is a pattern in the problems. When we envision a team that gets itself into trouble, a project that gets itself into trouble, my stance is there aren't a million different things that can go wrong. There's like a dozen. And it's always accountability, alignment, transparency, momentum, scalability, safety. So I count about a dozen things. And again, around 10 years ago, I started concluding organizations were committing the same sins. The feedback loop of lessons learned, it's not doing the job. But collectively, the industry, the innovation professions have so many lessons learned that we should be able to circle back and formulate a people-centric methodology that anticipates the dysfunction, turns the screws, and so yes, I believe there is a pattern in the problems, and that's why I believe formulating a people-centric methodology shouldn't make anyone's head explode. It's not rocket science. I joke it's just overdue.
It's just overdue, right? And part of it too is like, when you start talking agile, we come about these agreements, right? And what are the agreements that we think in our heads as far as what it is that we should be doing. So is part of this innovation really just shaking that up and saying, okay, these agreements, and let's tip them, and let's not format them, that's not right the word, but approach them differently. Is that part of what you're trying to convey?
So you mentioned a keyword, agreements. The first metaphor that fed into this material, I was in an operations class in my MBA program, just a basic level ops class. And what we were learning was everything about the factory.
Okay.
And as a diligent part-time MBA student, I wanted to be able to apply what I had learned on that Tuesday night to my job the next morning. And so I asked myself, is my company a factory? It was an easy answer at that time because I was working for the parent of a newspaper, and we were churning out thousands of newspapers every day. Next question, is my team a factory? And I concluded, well, if so, what's on this conveyor belt? It's a project charter. It's a process flow. It's our database structure. It's our code. It's our test approach. It's our test. So yes, all these things, and again, under Steph, you already used the word, it's agreement. All of these things that are worth discussing, um, collaborating on, fit under the umbrella of an agreement. So the first metaphor of the book is an agreement factory.
Okay. All right. So it's not getting rid of what we know what to use and saying what we're using or how we've been approaching things is wrong, but it's just really thinking of it as you're saying is like more in an innovative way and in shifting how you're actually doing it, right? Am
So
I thinking it correctly or
there is a trade-off that I'm proposing. And
okay? Tell
so
me the
what I
trade-off.
believe right now, companies are experiencing a lot of congestion, communication traffic jams,
Right.
meeting gridlock, and email overload. And I believe that many teams lead with meetings and emails. It's their comfort zone. It's an addiction. And structured documentation is an afterthought. It's a CYA. It's meeting minutes after meeting minutes after, hey, Johnny, take notes. This is high marginal cost. And this attitude in this culture is contributing to the communication traffic jams and the congestion. And
Okay.
so what the book, what the Elegance methodology proposes is that you invert these communication channels. Meetings and emails are wonderful servants.
Right.
They are horrible masters.
That is true.
But what you can, and there's an infinite number of them. So this is why the RACI matrix has limitations, because a culture that tries to govern a tsunami of meetings and emails with just a RACI matrix, where the RACI is not really clear what's a chat, what's worth documenting, what is a switch in your vendor tool. The combination of the RACI that harbors too much ambiguity, that has also had 20 years to improve project success rates,
Right.
combined with this addiction to meetings, the meeting factory, the messaging, the tsunami of messaging. This is what I'm trying to invert. And instead
Okay.
of this infinite opinion soup, let's invert the approach. So I in the book I introduce a framework I call the 5 verbs.
Okay.
The 5 verbs are draft, review, revise, approve, distribute. And the 5 verbs governs and shepherds this agreement factory of whatever a team feels is worth documenting. Everything else evidently is not worth documenting. So 9 to 12 months from now, we're not going to care about it.
Right.
So I'm hoping that the combination, what I'm proposing is the combination of a finite number of verbs that are unambiguous about
Right.
sequence, assignments, duration, percent complete, if you imagine all that in a project plan, combined with a finite number of things worth documenting, I don't know, a dozen things, 2 dozen things, the finiteness of that resembles a symphony, which also has a finite number of instruments, a finite number of notes that it plays. And
Right.
so I'm trying to get organizations out of this infinite tsunami of messaging and meetings and turn it into a symphony of 5 verbs. Meetings are not going to go away.
Right. That is so true, but you can make it to where the meetings are more meaningful and more purposeful because you're not what you're saying documenting for
Yeah,
documentation's sake. I mean, there are always legal and regulatory other types of things that have to be part of it if that's your organization or your
yeah,
client. The rest of it, so it's saying embrace the agile concept, agree to what these verbs are and what it means, and then go from there and then spend less time on the meetings and all of those types of things that do pile up and people do love their meetings and we
yeah.
now meet to have a meeting. So, double the meetings. So I like that.
Can I add one clarification on that?
Sure.
So when I'm going to take an example of a restaurant and how it treats the combination of conversation, and a written menu.
Okay.
If I'm a restaurant with 2 dishes, 2 customers, and I'm going to be open 2 weeks, I might not go to the trouble of a written menu,
That is true.
because the upfront cost of a menu, just like any structured documentation, the upfront cost can be significant. But as the size of my restaurant increases, 10 dishes, 20 dishes, 20 customers, 2,000 customers, instead of being open for 2 weeks as a seasonal restaurant, let's say I'm open for 2 years. At some point, as the scale, the volume, the traffic increases, I'm going to hit a tipping point to say, oh my gosh, sharing the menu, just talking,
No,
laborious,
not
not
possible.
not scale, right?
Right.
So you're going to hit a tipping point. It's okay, let's incur the upfront cost of a written menu, even if upfront, that discipline, like so many forms of discipline in life, it's unpopular. So I completely understand why structured documentation is unpopular, because of the high upfront cost.
Right.
But what's nice about structured documentation? The low marginal cost of if and when we have enough diners to justify the menu. And so I would encourage any innovation professional, if your scale is significant to justify documentation because you've got, I don't know, 20 stakeholders, like it doesn't take that many stakeholders to justify putting stuff in writing. And if you're going to put it on paper, you might as well govern it with 5 verbs, because it enforces collaboration instead of random verbs and adjectives to govern.
Right. So really helping people understand that, no matter the scale, you can flex and use these agreements based on where you're at, what you're driving forward, if you're, larger or smaller and all of that. So it really is a very flexible concepts.
Yeah. And
Okay.
everything else. I don't propose forbidding other activities.
Right.
I'm just going to say, evidently, it's not worth formally governing, because it's just a chat. Maybe even step away from the keyboard. Do it at the pub. It's either worth 5 verbs. Like
Right.
if you want to look back at that information a year from now, govern it with 5 verbs. Everything else, consider doing it at the pub.
Okay. It sounds odd. Hey, people do like the pub. So with this concept, so as you were developing it, right, you talked about like what we started talking about, like what really made you write this book, what led you to it. As you were exploring it and thinking about it and writing about it, did the book evolve, or did it just solidify the concepts? I'm intrigued on your journey from what you were trying to explore and share to where the book ultimately ended. Plus, I would say the series of books, right? Because it's not just one book. It's you now have multiple based on this,
Right.
on the direction you're going.
Right. So the original ambition of the book, as I started in 2019, was low. It was simply, what is worth putting on paper that BA Bach and Pim Bach were not talking about.
Okay.
And the second ambition of the book was, this is how the performing arts matter and can help.
Okay.
I did not try to tackle the topic of culture, thought that was too big. And I did not try to confront Agile.
Okay.
Through the editing process, maybe, so the book in total, it's 4 rewrites. It was 55 months. So a lot of past
Okay.
bad writing. I didn't always get it right with the editor. I got lucky with one editor, and honestly, that's all I needed for to reorganize and phrase things in a consumable way.
Right. Okay.
So perhaps the third rewrite, my editor said, you're tiptoeing around this thing called Agile. You just need to think it through and take a stance and talk about its limitations, its strengths, its weaknesses. So the book, that's why it's in the subtitle, Transcending and Moving Past Both Software-Centric Methodologies. Again, because that's not what makes teamwork difficult. I joke, no code was harmed in the writing of these books.
I like that. You're gonna have a T-shirt.
Code is not at risk. Collaboration is at risk.
Right.
People's interactions, that is at risk. Code, it's not at risk. It's going to be just fine. Your data is going to be just fine. Design, build, test. This, like when a project gets itself into trouble, if the defect has an origin in design or build, that takes you like a day to fix. But if a project has a defect upstream, requirements, future state in the project charter, I mean, how long might that take to fix because the root cause is that far upstream?
Right.
Um,
Or even like when you talked about the RACI earlier and you talk about stakeholders. I mean, some of those are fundamental problems or potential problems that don't get fixed in the code, right?
Yeah.
The collaboration method, the expectations, the sharing of what you can and cannot do and all of that. So you're really just trying to transcend, like these pure methodologies and say, let's look at a fresh approach to how we can, just do this differently, right? And I'm trying to articulate back to you what I'm hearing and
Yeah.
what I'm thinking. So correct me at any point if anytime I'm not
Okay.
sharing back with you, but it's a great thought because innovation is needed, and innovation isn't just in like what the outcome is as far as the product, but in the way that we do things. And I think, you know, personally, I've heard for years where, people talk about the frameworks and whether it be agile or otherwise, and they always talk about, well, I'm going from here to here, and people fall into the mire of like, I'm still moving along and use that as some kind of, like reason why how they're doing things hasn't really pivoted or changed. So you're giving them the ability to say, here's a look at something, let's think of it this way, and let's just try to make it easier for you, right? Because your
Yeah.
book, when you look at it, isn't full of like do all these like charts and graphs and all of that, right? It's just not. It's not meant to be that.
No, the first book, no. The second book, I admit,
It's
it educates on what is worth documenting.
oh,
It
that's
absolutely
that's
does. The
great. So
second book.
you start out with the first, let's cleanse the palate, right? Let's think the approach differently, and then the second book then helps you to really say, okay, here you go. Right?
Yeah, the first book, there's a couple ways or a couple reasons why I had to, as the material was too big for one book, and I had to partition them into 3 books. The
Okay.
first book covers what I'll call high level and conceptual metaphors of the factory and the
Okay.
performing arts. The second book is the documentation. It's the gruesome detail. It's
Ooh,
quote in the weeds.
okay.
And so I joke that the second book is extremely helpful for those who welcome and love structure, documentation, and like clarity, comfort, and confidence in pursuing that documentation. And on the
Right.
other hand, the second book is also great for anyone who is skeptical in general. If you are skeptical broadly of documentation, the second book gives you almost 60 items that you can now prohibit and say, these are the 60 things we're going to avoid documenting.
Ooh, ooh.
So
So,
you can take a formal stance and say, because
okay.
I'm against documentation, we're going to avoid a process flow, a database structure, code, a migration script, training materials. And you can say, you know what? All of this is just a chat. So you can hear the sarcasm here.
You probably felt like the collective, like, oh, my documents. But hey, but you think about it, it's like, we talked about like what about the folks who are not exasperated with the process, right? So it's okay, if you're feeling exasperated with the process,
Yeah.
your books in the series of them, the palette cleanser at the beginning, all of the structure or not to use really helps combine it. But
But not everyone is exasperated.
not everyone is. So for those
And
that have that collective, like my documents, I have to give them up. That's it. But if they read your book, they may just think about it just a little bit differently
I,
on
I hope that everyone considers their work worthy of referencing again a year or two from
Right.
now, and
Right.
not just in the code. Your keystrokes are valuable. Your team's collaboration on keystrokes. It is the right documentation is nothing short of a love letter to your future team. If you want to
That's
keep
true.
if you want to keep tribal knowledge and have employees walk out the door, then keep those decisions, keep those agreements scattered across 20 brains. And again, that raises your marginal cost, right? Back to the written menu. A
Right.
written menu has upfront discipline, but now that you've got stuff on paper and it's collaborated and it's agreed, it reduces the cost for your 36th stakeholder, your 37th stakeholder. How many of us have these instances where you've got a new person on the team and you've got to, quote, get them up to speed? All of us have this happen. And so what do you, can you imagine a new employee joining a company saying, well, oh my gosh, the people are nice, but nothing's documented. Like, who wants to be that cliche?
I've been
Is
there.
anyone saying, I want to be that cliche?
So, oh, wow. Let's pause for a moment because that is so much to think about and so much to really continue to explore because we have lots more questions. So let's ask Aaron. Aaron, do we have any questions in the chat that we want somebody to have a chance to ask? Does, anybody want any more with the insights as to what we've been talking about so far? I mean, this is our book nook. It's not just about me talking to Robert.
Mostly me, yapping away in the chat and everything, saying hi to everybody and, giving
Okay.
to the book and everything else. So
I
people
could
feel
ask a
free to
question.
come off mute and use your voice as well.
I think
Go ahead,
I'll use
Robert.
my voice.
Hi, Vic.
Hi.
Hi, Steph, and hi, Robert. How are you?
Hi, Vic. I'm well. Thanks for joining.
Great, thanks. So I'm from the waterfall predictive world. I'm not as fluent with Agile. But I do see vaguely the elephant in the room, and that is when you talk about the people and the verbs for the governance. I also now see that, especially when you talk about restaurants, when I talk about fast food, I see menu being so obsolete that it's now the kiosk that you put in your order in, and there you get it in like 5 seconds in the lineup. So I don't know how you see the new world that's coming in with AI, which is the vaguely the elephant that I see, where there's more involvement with the idea than the actual people interacting with the documentation and verbs.
So Vic, am I cutting you off or were you done?
No, I'm done. I was just still thinking, but I'm basically thinking how the future new world is going to look like when it comes to the qualitative components that you're talking about, where the innovation and all that can be done with people, and the using of the verbs and documentation and all that. How much would that be relevant when the AI comes into effect more and more? Increasingly, people want things to be like we're talking about, the most common ones, the devils in the market, like ChatGPT and all that. So
Okay.
how do we, because everywhere it's getting incorporated, I see that gradually. So how does the agile world see that? I mean, was there going to be a lot of the iteration that we do in agile? How does that affect the people involvement? And when we talk about the verbs and all that.
Okay. So Vic, at the start of your question, I heard the word obsolete and I heard inflexible, and then you steered toward AI. So can I just focus on the last part of your question?
Sure. I mean, I was talking about obsolete, which is the menu and all that. That's what I was focusing on.
The menu
Okay.
being obsolete, like the paper menu being obsolete.
Yeah, so neglect of an agreement. If what a restaurant has on its menu starts to diverge from what the actual experience is, if it's neglected for like a week where, servers at a restaurant are saying, well, there's a couple off menu things, or tonight we don't have the tortellini and the Cobb salad. Those exceptions aren't a big deal until the scale, the volume of those exceptions now makes the menu fiction, right? So obviously that's neglect and that's bad. So I don't have anything more to comment about just neglect. But Vic, when you pivoted toward AI, I think of, so there's one section in the second book that speaks to AI that was something I wrote about a year ago. So the world has moved on since then. But here's what I would say about AI. When I think of the 5 verbs, where does an AI agent help? I believe it help with the first verb is draft. Can an AI agent help me or my team draft something? Absolutely. So I believe that one of AI's most valuable contributions to a team is when a team has deer in the headlights or when they want another cook in the kitchen. So let's say a team of 8 is about to write up something, try to collaborate on something, and it says, you know what, I know we have 8 cooks in the kitchen, but we want a 9th. What would ChatGPT have to say? Okay, that's fine. Now, let's go on to the other verbs that I propose. Would AI review and revise? Okay, maybe, but what I'm concerned about is this word summarize. I would never ask ChatGPT, hey, take our database structure with 10 tables and 200 fields and summarize. So I'm skeptical about AI's contribution to review and revise. The next verb is approve. Am I going to delegate an approval to ChatGPT? Absolutely not. And am I going to delegate to ChatGPT the verb distribute? So you can think in terms of the RACI, or you can think in terms of the 5 verbs if your work is worth documenting. Where does AI contribute? Draft? Possibly. It's a good place for it to contribute. Review, revise. And also, I don't want to strip accountability from the humans on the team. I want the employees, the team members, to retain intellectual engagement, intellectual intimacy with each other. I don't want to give any excuse for the stakeholders to get lazy or neglect or defer to ChatGPT. What should we do? I joke that the fastest path to the heads and hearts of your customer, your paying customer, is through the heads and hearts of your customer. Why insert a middleman? Okay, for ideas, deer in the headlights, that's great. But what I worry about with AI, I think it's great to be astute with it, just like politics. I don't want to add to the political environment, but I want to be astute about the politics. I don't want to be oblivious to AI. I want to be astute. But what I don't want AI to do is to compound any accountability problems a team might have. And I believe that many teams have accountability problems. AI is not going to solve your accountability problems. So AI, it's a tool. It's helpful for drafting. Do I think AI solves the biggest problems of business? Does AI solve the biggest problem of business analysis professionals? I believe strongly, absolutely not. Our biggest issues are still teamwork. In the words of Patrick Lencioni, the biggest competitive advantage, it's not science, it's not finance. Someone's going to have to look up that Patrick Lencioni quote for me. But the biggest competitive advantage is teamwork because it's so powerful and because it's so rare. AI does not directly help my teamwork.
100%. The accountability part, yes, you're absolutely correct. I just want to clarify very quickly the concept that I started off with, which is I'm in a very technical environment where the waterfall or predictive methods are still used and all that, but slowly, gradually, we are moving to Agile. But I wanted to also say a little about AI. What I was referring to is something that is coming in the future. I'm not talking about what it's the level at its what is developed today. I'm talking more about how it's going to evolve in the future. It's not going to be ChatGPT anymore. It's not going to be the way it is we see today, but how it's going to, evolve in the future. That's all I was concerned about. But of course, when it comes to teamwork and accountability, 100%, no one can match that.
Cool. So I have one more comment about predictive, or Steph, do you want to move on? What are you in the mood for, Steph and Aaron?
I love the answer that you provided because it really helped us focus on like what AI can do and what they can't do. I just want to make sure that Vic are you good if we move on? Because we're all part of this book nook. I don't want to cut anybody short.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, that was a very thought-provoking question. And Robert, you did a great job of helping us to understand, how your books lend towards the innovation concept, still while respecting the fact that we have AI and other types of things on the horizon that will shift and is shifting the way that we work. So if you want to continue on, Robert, go ahead. And
I'll make
a ton more questions for you when you're ready.
Okay, this will be quick, Steph. So yeah, set up the next question. And so Vic, you mentioned the word predictive. I think that's worth distinguishing the word predictive from predictable. Evidently, predictive is this bad word because no team can predict the future and see, that's fine, but no one, I don't believe anyone is asking for teams to predict the future per se. But you know what is predictable? Anytime a team gets together to innovate new stuff, how predictable is it that the process is going to change? How predictable is it that the database structure is going to change? How predictable is it that code is going to change? How predictable is it that a test approach or testing is going to be required or training? So just because what I'm worried about is because this word predictive has such a negative connotation, it's as if everyone gets off the hook with setting any sort of expectations about a future state process flow, your database structure, your code, your training, your testing. Give me a break. All this stuff is it is predictable that all of these things the team is going to need to put on paper. So I would just ask everyone, although this word predictive has such a negative connotation right now, think, again, I'm going to bring in the performing arts. How predictable are certain notes for a symphony? And if your team is trying to imitate a symphony, a play, how predictable are the notes you're going to be playing 30 seconds from now, 45 seconds from now? If you're a play, how predictable is it of what's going to happen on the stage in our play, in the movie? And if you're not on script, that's the reason why the book contains a chapter on improv, but there are still rules within improv. It's not a free-for-all. So Vic clearly touched a nerve with me when he mentioned this word predictive.
No, I'm sorry. I actually use the textbookish term, and waterfall is what's commonly also used. But the way I'm getting into the world of Babok, where they still mention that word, and I was just using it as synonymous textbookish. But I 100%, the whole world is moving to everything which is unpredictable. So I agree with you there. So I probably will refrain from using that word in future. I learned that from you.
You're honestly, Vic, your question was fantastic. So do not be afraid to ask questions or use words, whether they inspire Robert or give him some more passion, because
It's
Thank
entertaining.
you.
If nothing else, it can be entertaining for everybody.
Well, what, when we've talked about so far, like your 5 verbs and how to determine the level or when to document or when to do things, and and it is an ever-changing world, right? And a lot of people are somewhat, anxious, I would say, because of the pace at which things are going, and maybe they're very much into it or not. And so, you know, um, for your book, as your is the world changes, like with AI and all these other things, in the midst of you writing them, I mean, what do you hope for the readers to achieve, like the new skills that you're trying to convey, or the new ways to think of things, to help them like embrace and innovate without fear? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the trendy topic at the moment is psychological safety. And I believe that the books help immensely with psychological safety because the books paint a picture unapologetically of what good collaboration looks like. And the metaphors of the performing arts are, I believe, very strong metaphors. So a reader can opt in, they can opt out, and they can see others who opt out and who embrace or welcome the world of VUCA. So this term, also a trendy term, VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And I think some in our profession believe we need to embrace VUCA, maybe lean into it, at minimum, accept it. And I absolutely am comfortable taking the other side of that bet to say, what would a symphony do? A symphony would not be VUCA. A dance couple, a dance lesson, a dance performance, it would not be VUCA. What would a theater company, an organization do? What would an improv team do? There is nothing, there are some hiccups. No one's aiming for perfection, but to surrender to VUCA, I think is a big cop out. And I think VUCA is contributing to poor cultures, low psychological safety, and I'm comfortable just pushing back through these habits, through the 5 verbs, through the metaphors of the performing arts. I feel I have a strong position, and I feel that readers should have backbone, courage, and confidence that, when you're doing the 5 verbs, what you are doing is vulnerable, it's transparent, it's durable, it's collaborative. That's a strong position and a license for high expectations, a license to know that what you are doing is contributing. So I hope the book is not just academic and gives you tactics, but it also shapes culture to raise confidence that when you are following these habits and you're imitating a symphony, you're imitating the agreement factor. You can see where you fit in harmonies of the 5 verbs.
Right.
You know that what you're doing is incredibly valuable. It's incredibly durable. It is transparent and welcomes change. Just because it's on paper doesn't mean it's rigid.
Right.
Just because it's explicit doesn't mean it's rigid. The ink is always wet. Teams are always learning new things. And now there's no single point of failure. Anyone can raise their hand and say, I learned something new. We got to go back to document XYZ and put it through the 5 verbs again because we learned something new. And no one should get crucified for that sort of thing. So I hope that the books raise confidence, courage, value. I hope it will encourage companies to innovate more. Right now, this congestion, I believe that companies are holding back on their projects. They're holding back in their innovation because they consciously or subconsciously see the congestion. And they're saying, why would I put more cars on the road?
Right.
So if we have a way to reduce the congestion and give companies the confidence, we can innovate more. Well, then we can hire more. Because right now, I believe that the valuable innovation work that's on the sidelines is piling up. and valuable skilled business analysis professionals and bigger picture innovation professionals. Too many of us are on the sidelines. The market isn't clearing. There's supply and demand that is not meeting. And I hope that lower marginal costs, reduced congestion, getting rid of these communication traffic jams, at least reducing them gradually, will improve the job market. It will embolden companies to innovate more, innovate faster. It will get more people working. And so I hope that the books have that positive and that gravity of impact.
Well, I hope so too. Because as you're talking about it, and you're talking about the collaboration congestion, as you start new jobs or as you move within the organization, the first things that people are asking are like, how do I do something, right? Like, where's the documentation? Give me that communication channel so I can follow what it is that you need me to do in order to get from A to Z, right? You don't want to not do the right thing, but you also want to have that ability to be able to understand what it is. And then what you're talking about is giving people the ability to right size it, to understand it, to raise their hand when they see a better approach, to go back if needed. You're right, that could help to open up that, because it gives people the flexibility to be able to say there is a better, quicker, faster way to do it and still meet the company or the initiatives, objectives, and what needs to be documented at that time with that flexibility. So it's a great thought. Wow.
I admit that the books don't emphasize, like what I'm thinking in terms of a symphony. The books don't emphasize speed. The books emphasize low marginal cost.
Okay.
And when a team gets in a groove, they get in the zone, they get in a rhythm of low marginal cost where it's just a wonderfully synchronized, then your go live dates and your scope, you feel you have more control over them, more confidence. And I think that it's worth thinking about waterfall and agile in terms of one variable. Waterfall had go live events that were really far apart. Innovation was the exception, and it was lumpy. And one benefit that agile has brought to our professions over the last 20 years is innovation is rarely lumpy. It's almost never lumpy. And now go live events are really close together. So when people say agile is about speed, I'm going to disagree. And I'm going to say agile is about frequency.
That's true. It is frequency.
Right?
Yes.
But frequency and speed are absolutely not the same thing.
That is true.
And so I admit that elegance as a methodology is also not about speed, because why would I take, and I'm going to jump to a music metaphor, why would I take an 8-minute long song like Hey Jude, Bohemian Rhapsody, Hotel California, and say, like a bad manager, that 8-month project, do it in 4. That 8-minute song, do it in 4. Like, no, that ruins the experience for everyone. If it's an 8-minute long song, enjoy the 8 minutes and don't crucify anyone for a healthy, it's not like anyone's languishing or goofing off. It's an 8-minute long song. And if you don't want an 8-minute long song because your coffee's ready in 3 minutes, well then, I don't know, some of the Beatles songs were like 3 minutes long. So again, I think it's worth, again, splitting hairs about the words we choose. Waterfall, go live events are really far apart. Agile, your go live events are really close together. And it's about frequency, it's not about speed. We can talk about the word nimble. Nimble is about acceleration, being able to accelerate and decelerate, change direction. Again, nimble is not about speed. I can be a skier flying down a hill, but if I can't accelerate or decelerate on a ski hill, I'm not nimble, I'm just fast. So again, nimble is different than fast. Nimble is about acceleration. And so I'm clearly playing thesaurus here on my soapbox.
No, that's okay, because the words we choose are very important. And I choose a lot of words to get you in talking. So speaking of words and the all of the things that you're sharing with us, like as a business professional, IIBA Bluegrass, we are, business analysis and projects, all of that, that is the core of what we do. So if I've been reading your book and I've been getting quite a bit of thought-provoking ideas and just different approaches that I've been thinking about from that. But what would a business analysis professional really get from reading your book or books, because it's a series?
So my hope is it's a combination of confidence, tools, metaphors, joy in their work, less stress.
Okay.
Because you know what good and elegant and clean and durable and synchronized looks like. And you know what all the other things, you know what verb sprawl looks like.
Mhm.
I mean, who wants a task list with 60 distinct verbs?
That is true. Well, some people might.
A public,
And
if,
you're right. You're right. If that's what they want, then keep it.
and if a business analyst wants the primary communication mode to be meetings, at least you can own it.
Right.
But I would caution you, I not knowing someone, I believe every innovation professional's work is worth memorializing in a more structured manner than just meeting minutes. If and when I meet someone to say, no, my work, yeah, it's not worth documenting, that hurts. Wow, who has such low self-esteem about their work that it wouldn't contribute to something worth memorializing?
Right. And most people don't feel that way. They just don't think of it in that manner, right? That what their contributions are. And so, what you think about, like, not only what a BA, the reasons why they would read the book, but also, what you would hope for them to achieve out of it is really kind of what you're also talking about, like, about the innovation work and, the root causes for the traffic jams and all of those. So, when you talked to me, you talked about the books are some sort of like a form of a train system. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Or
So I had another thought from the last question, Steph. Don't
okay.
lose your thought, but can I jump back to the
Yeah, absolutely.
So another benefit, I believe, for business analysis professionals is, and here's the dance metaphor, there is a difference between mechanics and style. And if you think we can talk in terms of a dancer, I can talk in terms of a basketball player since it's March Madness. When we think of the fundamentals of a basketball player, it's dribbling, passing, and shooting. And when you hear about the best basketball players in the world, they will talk about repetition of the fundamentals to the point that it's muscle memory, so that when they're in a game, their body is on automatic. They're in the zone, in a groove. And my hope is that these books enable all innovation professionals to be fabulous at the fundamentals. And the fundamentals are these three communication channels. It's being amazing at meeting etiquette, amazing at email etiquette, amazing in whatever is worth documenting. Because now when a BA professional has mastered the mechanics, their brain power can go elsewhere. It can elevate beyond just the mechanics into, and now I'll go back to the dance metaphor, style. If I'm on the dance floor dancing salsa, which has the rhythm quick, quick, slow, quick, quick, slow, it would stink for me to be weeks, months, years mired in the mechanics, self-absorbed, unable to transcend my thinking into styling or attentiveness for my dance partner or attentiveness of others on the dance floor where there might be a collision. So I believe that just the stratification, mechanics, don't shrug and be dismissive of mechanics, because when you have muscle memory, it is a form of automation and you can elevate your thinking. So I'm hoping the books will enable BA professionals to sweat less of the mechanics. Oh my gosh, what should I be doing now? It
right?
simplifies the mechanics because you know what's durable, it's the 5 verbs, and you know what's disposable, everything else.
Right, right. Well, and you think about it like you talked about meeting etiquette, email etiquette, and documentation, right? So
Yeah.
we're if you want to talk like the core muscle memory for those. So for meeting etiquette, you have punctuality, more participation, less interrupters, less monopoly, right?
Yeah.
Monopolization, right?
Yeah.
So we can all agree that that completely makes sense, right? Like be punctual, respect people's time, participate, be there in the moment, not be somewhere else, right? Listen, active listening. So these are all some of the core skills when you talked about the Babak and like other BA techniques. I mean, these are core skills that you as a BA or any other type of stakeholder within it still need to have, no matter how much you want to innovate or where you want to take things, right? I mean, we're just talking core skills. And so when we think about like documentation, so that's been part of what you're talking about, like right sizing it, if I'm hearing you correctly, based on where you're at, what you need to do, and all of that, and not just having it as like what we need to do is document. That really isn't the overall goal, I think, right? I mean, we need to document, but it's not, like that's not the delivery. That's not the execution. That's not our only, like, I have this beautiful thing, right? That's, unless you're a book author or something like that, that's really not what you're trying to deliver. So do you have other thoughts on, I still have so many questions to ask you. Okay.
You did mention train. Well, go on
I
to what
did, but we could go back to the train because the train actually really ties back into what we're just talking about with as far as some of these other things. So go back to the train because I know that everybody wants to hear more your thoughts about that.
Okay. So when you say train, we're talking about the metaphor of a train system in a city, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
exactly.
So I believe that this metaphor is worthwhile because again, it's a metaphor that allows people to opt out. If you are on a team that cannot justify the cost of a train, it just means that there aren't many people to move around. Imagine a amusement park. Imagine Disney World on a slow day. You don't need shuttles.
Mm-mm.
But Disney World on a busy day, at some point, you're going to say, you know what? We're moving a lot of people to and from this amusement park to hotels, etc. Maybe shuttles are a good idea. Well, shuttles, there's something unpopular about shuttles. They have upfront costs. But there's something popular about shuttles, the low marginal cost. So again, it is the cost profile you want to have. So trains, I don't know. I get a chance to go to Europe once or twice a year. My favorite cities, London, Paris, Berlin, Rome, they all have a train system. The upfront cost, it's significant. But now that these cities are moving around so many people and you can justify the cost, this is scalability, this is efficiency.
Right.
That's why I believe the train is a valuable metaphor because again, if you are a team with 2 stakeholders, 2 requirements a month, 2 projects a year, and innovation is the exception, yeah, then I mean, at the extreme, why even code?
Maybe you need to tweak something. Who knows?
If
Okay.
you're a lemonade stand with sugar lemonade and sugar-free lemonade, maybe you don't need a menu. But how many of us in the IIBA world are dealing with such low scalability and low volumes? So
Not,
the
not really. Right.
the Agile Manifesto says like don't it discourages comprehensive documentation. And I would just say document whatever you want to remember in a year. Document whatever lowers your total cost of ownership and your total cost of the collaboration. And to your point about data shouldn't be for the sake of data. Technology shouldn't be for the sake of technology. Documentation shouldn't be for the sake of documentation.
Right.
But there are other culture traits that documentation provides that improves. So in our cultures, we have personality conflict. Documentation helps convert that to task conflict. Because I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm disagreeing with bullet 6 on the PowerPoint slide.
Right.
Instead of demonization, disagreeing is okay. Demonization is not okay. Boxing ring of people, not okay. Boxing ring of ideas is good. So we can have divergent thinking followed by convergent thinking. But documentation is a wonderfully simple, petty, it's a small hinge that swings a large door. But again, people can opt out and say, you know what? Yeah, my work, not worth documenting.
Right.
Ouch.
Right. Right. You know, and I spend quite a bit of time documenting because that's something that for me and what I do or currently are moving towards, or there's value in it, but I don't over document. I try to align myself with what you're saying with the 5 verbs, like, you know, right sizing it for what it needs to be. And you do find that there is value. People will want to go back and look at it, revisit it, whatever. So, but getting it to that right amount and having the grace of being able to adjust depending on the project or the circumstances really allows you to be able to you know really feel confident in what your delivery is. So
Yeah.
it's great that
And
you're
when you go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
sorry.
No,
I was just
I'm-
going to say, and when you start a new job, it's really nice to be able to do technique 10.18 document analysis and educate yourself on some things, you know, about the company or about your job or about the department that you're in or whatever, you know, that you wouldn't be able to get any other way because everybody's like, well, I don't
busy.
know.
Right.
Yes, I had that moment today, quite honestly. Thank you very much. That was my day today, doing that BA technique. Just gonna say that. So this is great. So what we're saying,
Stephanie,
yes, sir.
there's a big question in the chat.
Ooh,
I'm sure Robert, will handle this one, but how do you sell this to your company? Or is there something you can do in your current role with our company buy-in?
Yeah.
He's asking if you can get company buy-in, or how do you get it?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Victor. So I get this question a lot, and my suggestion for adoption is step 1, recognize what good habits your team already does. So the second book that's coming out in a month or two, for example, it'll help keep the math easy. Let's say there are 60 things that I believe are worth documenting for an innovation team. 20 are project independent, 20 are project specific under the umbrella of project management process and people or change management. And then there are about 20 things under the umbrella of design, build, test, all the tech stuff. And so any team right now is inevitably already using, let's say 20, let's say a third of these documents. What I would recommend is step 1, find the path of least resistance. What are adjacent documents that you feel would be the easiest to adopt to establish some small wins in the spirit of crawl, walk, run? And you also have to find your colleagues that you feel most psychologically safe with. So there's a reason why I approach business analyst professionals, project managers, and change managers is because I feel they are the innovation professionals most exasperated. I believe that more senior employees are just less exasperated. They lose less sleep due to dysfunctional methodology. So back to Victor's question about does the company adopt? I believe it has to be crawl, walk, run, and it has to be through your colleagues that you feel most psychologically safe with. But I could never prescribe the right sequence, because I don't know where your current environment is right now. I don't know whether a reader of mine would feel psychologically safe going to anyone. I suspect that there will be readers that absolutely do not feel psychologically safe disrupting the apple cart at all. It makes me sad, but that's possible. It's likely, right? So step one, recognize the good habits that your team already does. Step two, find others that you feel psychologically safe with and pursue the path of least resistance, crawl, walk, run. And remember that everything is reversible. Any step in one direction in moving to a people-centric methodology, you can change your mind and say, that's not the right thing to adopt next, and that's perfectly fine. I love the idea of readers owning the pursuit and the ambition to have a more people-centric methodology, and to not surrender to VUCA.
Well, you got two more readers, because you got in the chat, two people said it just bought the book. Looking
Nice.
forward to reading it.
And one more comment for Victor. So Victor, there's a cliche that leadership can exist anywhere throughout the company. And this is an excellent example of that. Victor, I don't know your seniority within a company, but my favorite definition of leadership is the following: taking a person from point A to point B for their benefit where otherwise they might not have gone. So Victor and everyone, wherever you are in your org chart, you can adopt these habits, these tools, one at a time. And it is a form of leadership, regardless of where you are in the org chart. But again, there are senior employees that are just not exasperated. They literally are not losing as much sleep. They're not losing as much sleep as the more junior employees who are at the mercy of VUCA, of congestion, the meeting gridlock, the messaging overload. And that's why I'm talking to you and not CIOs. I get asked that all the time. Robert, you need to go to the top. I violently disagree. They're not exasperated.
Right. And we've talked a lot about like the theories and the concepts, but you still have a lot of tools that you're advocating, that some of them are just they're so ingrained. Like we were talking about the meeting etiquettes and all those types of things. You're like, oh, okay, meeting etiquette. All of those are while they seem simplistic, really do make a big difference if you can find a way to get them under control, or morphing them, Jedi mind tricking people into a way of where they're doing it a little bit more efficiently, or more where you're getting better results out of it, right? So it doesn't have to be this, I have to blow up the framework of everything we're doing and wipe everything out. It's like, it can be to what you're saying. It's like, what can you do to make these subtle differences that accumulate into potentially significant change? Plus also, as a person, when you feel like you are starting to make a difference, right? Like when you can add value in a way that you can see things getting better, or just acceptance. I mean, the personal satisfaction as well as the team satisfaction is amazing, right?
Yeah. Small steps, small wins. Where I thought you were going, Steph, was because we indirectly hit the tool of the approachability menu.
Yes.
To talk about, all of us need to be coached and coachable, approached and approachable about these three communication channels.
Right.
And just now, I thought where you were going was the tool, in case the audience tonight has the appetite for the exercise called I like, I wish, I hope, I wonder.
Right. I am so close. We've got like 15 minutes
Okay.
left.
Go
So
where
I'm
you
like,
want to go. Go where you want to go.
oh, there's so many things. So
Before you go there, Robert, Victor bought the book.
And I welcome reactions. There's no expiration date on you contacting me. Reactions, questions, concerns, pushback, I welcome it.
You like a challenge. You like a good discussion.
And I'm only
have-
one person. I'm only one person who wrote this and this cannot be static.
Right.
These books are not perfect. What are the chances that someone listening tonight let's go back to the 60 assets in book 2. What are the chances that someone listening tonight will identify a 61st asset, a 62nd asset? It's inevitable.
Right.
The world is changing. Professionals will find additional or different things that are worth putting on paper. And my hope is that the 5 verbs is still the right framework to govern it for humility and transparency, ruthless momentum. So that is why readers need to keep building and improving this. I would be a hypocrite if I thought this was the final answer or static. No. Again, it's the performing arts. There's no perfection. We're just trying to kick out great audience experiences.
Right. But too, the audience experience, like when you are in a meeting or engaged in work activity, you do want to have a good experience, right? I mean, I would hope that most people don't go to work to suffer pain and humiliation or suffering, right?
Right.
Like you want to go to make a living, advance professionally, learn something new, right? All kinds of reasons why you want to, participate in the teams. So,
Yeah.
So where I was going to go next, I was going to bring up some of your tools that were in book 2 that we had talked about, but we can also, if you want, like I said, we have about 10 plus minutes left. I want to make sure that we get in a couple things. So you'll have to tell me if the exercise isn't enough time for it. I want to make sure that people know where you're speaking and everything next. So how many minutes, and you've got a lot of places and a lot of different topics that you're going to be exploring, not just the one today, because today, quite honestly, is focused about you writing the book, what you're hoping that people will get out of it, what your desires are, your thoughts. And it's not all about all of the other things that they'll learn from your engagement. So do you need like a couple minutes? Do you need like 5 minutes or how?
To like explain where else I'm talking in the near future?
Yeah, because I want to make sure that, because you and I still have much more to discuss in a very short amount of time. So I want to make sure that anybody that is interested in hearing what you have to say next, that they know where to find you.
Yeah. Okay. So I put my speaking schedule, and I just went through it in my head, and I think I've got it memorized for the next 2 weeks. But it is available on my LinkedIn page. So if you're not already connected with me, please do. And the next 6 weeks or so, it's posted on my LinkedIn page. That said, tomorrow is a panel discussion for an upcoming conference in Europe. So the conference is called BA and Beyond. I was able to attend last year. It's fabulous. Last year was in 2 cities. This year it's in 4. So if you're not familiar with the conference called BA and Beyond, please check it out. And tomorrow there's a panel discussion. I'm one of 3 panelists to announce the theme. So that's 1:00 Central. I'm not sure, but check out BA and Beyond. Look up Philippe Hendricks and Wouter, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, but it's Wouter. And the other 2 panelists are amazing. It's an honor to be on this panel. These guys are wicked smart and wicked funny, and it'll be recorded though if you have a day job or lunch appointment or something. So that's tomorrow midday. That's March 26th. The next speaking engagement I have is the evening of March 28th for IIBA's Vancouver chapter.
Okay, excellent.
After that, so the title of that session is What a People-Centric Methodology Looks Like. And I go over the 3 metaphors: factory, asset portfolio, and the performing arts.
Okay.
The next time I'm speaking after that, April 9th for IIBA Portland, Oregon. The title of that session is called Orchestra, Documentation, and Psychological Safety. And so it really tries to emphasize, hey, this documentation thing that you might think is administrative and petty and simplistic, it is going to be a culture game changer. Thoughtfully crafted templates are cultural game changers. And that is why, that's why the third part of that session is about psychological safety and how the right documents improve your psychological safety.
Oh, wow. You've got a lot of great events coming up. Definitely would certainly expand upon what we were able to cover tonight.
European BA Day is May 16th. It's online only. The session I'm giving is entitled What AI Buzzwords Teach Us About Teamwork? Because there's a whole lot of talk about AI and carefully curating prompts, asking good questions to ChatGPT. And where I deflect the agenda is, you know what if we just learn to ask each other better questions? That's a form of leadership, because
That
we're
is
all
true.
prompt engineers for each other.
Right.
And being a good prompt engineer for each other is a form of good leadership.
That is true.
And then the final, this is my most bold talk, is with an organization called LPPDE. It's Lean Product. It has a very engineering slant. So my session is called The Modern Manifesto. And I rewrote the Agile Manifesto in the style of the Agile Manifesto for this decade. And I treat it like a Mad Lib. Do you remember what a Mad Lib is?
I do remember what a Mad Lib is.
So imagine looking at the structure of the Agile Manifesto and deciding what nouns and verbs, adjectives, you could swap in more current language.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Because the Agile Manifesto was written 23 years ago.
Right.
As a reaction to what was going on with the web in the mid and late 90s.
Wow.
It's 23 years later, ladies and gentlemen.
Time flies when you're having fun, Robert. Come on, it goes quickly.
So I'll stop there about the speaking gigs, but that's what's coming up.
Well, I hope that others will be able to attend some of them. Like I said, today you were getting close to time, and I know how precious your time is, and you've been so generous with yours. When I first started exploring who I wanted to have as the first person for our new series, the BA Book Nook, I was looking for newer books that were out and some fresh approaches to, ways of thinking and all of that. And I came across yours, and I thought, I had so many questions that I had wanted to ask, and just like tell me more and tell me why what these approaches are and why I should care or how I could use them, because the book, like I said, book one doesn't have a bunch of the standard BA techniques, right? I didn't see graphs and charts and all that, and I'm like, okay, where is the traditional things that are typically packed in a book, right? Like, I need to know more.
And I tried to minimize redundancy. If I knew others were talking about it or writing about it, I did my best to not duplicate it.
Right, to just give it a fresh approach. And so I'm looking forward to book two, so I can couple that with what we've talked about, because I still have to embrace the document set. But this has been fantastic. I mean, you've really helped to really kind of reprogram the approach, and give it a different thought. Even thinking about when you're talking about the symphony or song, it's just okay, shake up those old habits and think about the beauty and the symmetry with that, and how you can morph that into what you're doing. So really appreciate, and those are my words, not necessarily yours on that, but really appreciate the opportunity for you to share with us your thoughts and where you're going and what this book can do for you, what it can't do for you, meaning if you want to keep doing what you're doing, guess jam on and keep going. But if not, there's different ways to explore what we've been doing and really try to add value from from all different directions.
Yeah, if you're okay being in a communication traffic jam, I just ask you use the bathroom first, have the right snacks, beverage, good music, good conversation. You know what? No, it's rare for someone to die in a traffic jam. but it's not fast.
Right, right. Well, your soul could die. I'm just going to say your soul can literally die. So this has been fantastic. And then Aaron, do we have any more questions? Because I don't want anybody to miss out on an opportunity to, after today.
Any more questions in the chat? Somebody said CIOs tend to be expirating rather than expirated.
Okay.
The pain is just a byproduct of work. So, you're getting comments in the chat and that, but
Love it.
before we end, why don't we ask if you want to put it in the chat or if you want to come off mute and use your own voice. Any last minute questions for Robert? There's a drum roll.
No, but it was great. It was a great talk, I think. Yeah, and I love the back and forth between Robert and Stephanie. It was great.
Well, thank you. Like I said, we were trying to, there's lots of presentations that are out there, lots of very structured types of meetings. And, we really just want to have conversation, right? Like really pick somebody's brain and really get to understand it more and just, feel like we're all sitting together in some place, with some hot cocoa or whatever else somebody has, and just really, good conversation. And, Robert, the fact that, you were able to not push back, but really just, like if the words that were said, make sure that we're thinking of them in the approach that you're thinking. So that perfect. I completely enjoyed myself.
Becca,
So thank you. And thank you
Thanks.
so much. And then from an IIBA perspective, we have other community events coming up. So I'm going to put in the chat, and I'm sure Aaron will help me out with this, our calendar of events. So from an IIBA Bluegrass community, we have on April 11th, BAs on the Street, where I'll talk to Kathy Christ. And then we have our last of the season on May 6th, our Building a Community, which is a tri-chapter event with Southeast Michigan and Chicagoland, where we do our community event. And this year, this May's theme is, what is it, Aaron? What is our May community theme?
Oh, you didn't tell me you were going to ask that, or I would have had the music queued up.
All right.
Cinco de Mayo.
Woo, woo. So
With
Robert,
Marathi music.
exactly. So we welcome all of you if you want a fun event, not just the Talking with Kathy Chris, which is BAs on the Street, where we really talk about like her experiences with her as a BA, but the community event is we do BA techniques, we talk recipes, and we generally hang out, and somebody typically walks away with a $25 gift certificate. So anyway.
Yeah. We also have our CBDA, the Business Data Analytics Study Group, starting on Thursday. We still have openings if anyone's interested. We're looking forward to this.
I'm signed up, so I'm looking forward to it. Thursday night, I'll be there.
Awesome.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And Robert, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate the time and effort that you've put into meeting with us and sharing with us your book, and definitely look forward to attending some of your events and really just learning more. And book 2, I'm gonna pencil you in. I'm gonna try to get you to come back and talk to me about book 2. So
I'm flattered. Twist my arm.
all right. Twist it away.
Somehow I don't think that'll be difficult.
No, thank you tons for hosting me, and yeah, it was a ball, and hope we can do it again.
I hope so too.
And good luck with the rest of your series.
Thank you. We're off to a great start, and I appreciate everyone joining us. And if anybody has any feedback, make sure you share it with us. And we want this to make it feel like you're getting as much out of it as I feel like I have in my conversation with you, Robert. So thank you again, everyone. Have a great night and happy spring.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thanks.
Happy spring. Bye-bye.